Welcome back to Nightmare States. For this episode we will go to Kaohsiung, Taiwan. Kaohsiung in southern Taiwan is a lively city that blends culture and modernity. It boasts a beautiful waterfront, a bustling port, and a rich array of attractions. The city is also known for one of its most notorious incidents that sent shockwaves in Taiwan in 2005. This was the original true story that later inspired one of the best-grossing Taiwanese horror film on Netflix called Incantation. Now let's dive into the original story in detail. The incident happened in Kaohsiung, Gushan District. Gushan District is best known for its beautiful bay areas and rich local cultures. It is also an important religious hub where you can find various places of worship for Taoism, Buddhism, and other religions. Going to local temples and places of worship is part of the locals' way of life. Living in Gushan District, Street is where the protagonist of the incident resides. The Wu family, like many in the area, are a deeply religious family. Mr. and Mrs. Wu were both 56 years old at the time. Together they had 3 daughters and 1 son. The eldest daughter was 28 years old, works in type. The second daughter works as a nurse at the local hospital, and the youngest daughter is still studying in university. They also have a 20-year-old son who works at the local printing factory. On April 11, 2005 was a not-so-quiet Monday afternoon on Street. Mr. Wu runs frantically to his neighbor and violently banged their doors. He shouted, "Call the ambulance," without elaborating on any details as to whom the ambulance is for and what has happened. Mr. Wu left the scene just like any good neighbor would do. He ran over to Mr. Wu's home to check up on them. The Wu family home is a 3-story apartment. On the ground floor are Mr. Wu's parents, his younger brother on the second floor, and his family of 6 on the third. The neighbor entered and immediately a strong and pungent smell rushes towards his nose. The atmosphere inside was eerie and unsettling. In complete silence, the air inside was heavy and foul, infested with flies. Out of curiosity and worry, the neighbor proceeds to go upstairs to the 3rd floor where the Wu family stays. He pushed open one of the doors and was shocked at the scene. Mr. Wu's eldest daughter was laying there on the bed with no movement. Her limbs were rigid and it seems like she is not breathing. Without a trace of other family members, the neighbor rushed out of the home in fear and proceeded to call the ambulance. The eldest daughter was then quickly transferred to the nearest hospital for treatment as she was already in critical condition. Unfortunately, she did not make it for treatment and was pronounced dead at the hospital. However, the doctors discovered strange injuries and bruises all over her body. Upon closer examination by the doctors, these injuries suggests that great bodily harm was done to the victim before death and that the cause of death must have been unnatural. Based on these findings, the doctor must report to the police. The Goshen Police Department started investigating into the case. Immediately after closer examination by the Forensics Department, they found that the victim's throat and stomach was full of human feces. Not only that, they also confirmed many bruises all over her body, including round injuries caused by burning candles. The police concluded that the cause of death was due to severe bodily harm and exhaustion, which caused multiple organs to fail. The time of death was April 9, 2 days before her body was found. The police proceeded to lock down the Wu family home to further investigate the crime scene. They quickly noticed from the outside there was a black cloth marked with religious symbols hanging near the roof. Above the entrance door was a red disc and some kind of talisman paper. This type of paper is believed to be effective for purging evil spirits or offer the user protection. It was also noticeable from the outside that there were talisman paper used on the windows, and the 3rd floor was hung numerous black clothing. The whole home was filled with an eerie atmosphere and suggesting some kind of ritual took place here. As the police climbed the stairs towards the 3rd floor, a putrid and foul smell rushes towards them. The home is empty, but immediately they can see that the ceilings and 4 walls were filled with human feces, while the room itself was a mess and decorated with talisman papers and salt. In the corner of the living room was a worship altar for the Chinese folk religion deity Santa Z, also known as NASA. Santa Z is a popular figure of worship in homes and temples across Taiwan. It is believed that by worshipping Santa Z it can help purge evil spirits and demons while also offering protection to children. Continuing in the dining room, the police found rice bowls filled with talisman paper soaked in liquid, and also plates of human feces were found at the center of the table. The mysterious death of the Wu family's eldest daughter, the eerie and supernatural setting of the home, and the disappearance of the rest of the family only opened up more questions than answers for the police. These strange occurrences made it one of the most notorious and horrific cases in Taiwan. A family of 6 is now 5 with the rest of the family missing. The police began questioning the neighbors to find out if anything strange happened in the previous months, and there were plenty. The neighbors confessed to the police that there were many instances of strange activities in the Wu family home. They heard loud chants and mutterings coming from the 3rd floor. It is believed they were doing some kind of religious ritual, and the neighbors think they could have been collectively possessed. Even their relatives living on the second and first floors were very disturbed by their eccentric behavior and had to move out. The initial investigation confirms that the Wu family are deeply religious and superstitious. They often worshipped at home or the local temple. However, to find out the truth about why they were behaving to such extremes, the police must find the missing members of family. 3 days after they found the body of the eldest daughter on April 14, the police found the remaining 5 family members at a temple in Tainan City. Upon closer examination, they all share similar bruises and injuries as the deceased. Moreover, they didn't think the eldest daughter is dead, but only the evil spirit that was residing in her is vanquished. The 5 were transferred to the Gushan Police Department for further questioning, but the process did not go smoothly. It seemed like they were deeply afraid of something supernatural and would not utter a word. After being pressed in the question room for hours, they confessed that they cannot cooperate, otherwise the evil spirit, and return to disturb their family. The investigation was stalled. The case garnered great social interest and media coverage, and the police also feared that the family might do something drastic again. In their fear, the police thought the family might open up and be more cooperative. If they alleviate their fear, they found a Taoist protective artifact known as Tian Huang Kai, which is believed to help purge one's evil spirits and offer them protection. It is made from walnut wood, and both sides of the artifact is carved with spells and religious symbols. With the help of the protective artifact, the family finally felt more at ease and started dialogue with the police, and the truth slowly started to unravel. Strange things started to happen in February. 2 months before the investigation, the 22-year-old youngest daughter returned to the Kaohsiung family home from university during winter break. She suddenly started to have recurring nightmares, migraines, and insomnia, causing her great mental distress from the lack of rest. Her friend suggested that she should go to a local temple in Nanzi district and have the priest perform a ritual to help her retrieve her soul back. This is a common local ritual that is usually performed with chanting, calling out names, talisman papers, and other religious artifacts. The goal of the ritual is to help those that are acting strangely to find themselves back. It is believed that when a person is in excessive fear, their soul would drift away from the body, and performing such ritual would help retrieve it and tame any fear. At first, the ritual did seem to help the youngest daughter alleviate some of the issues with migraines and insomnia, but she would continue to have sudden panic attacks as if some grave danger is about to happen. She told her parents that she started to see the deity Sanitize at home, and the deity commanded that they must call the eldest daughter to return home to Kaohsiung from Taipei, otherwise they will be in great peril. The Wu family is known to be superstitious. They decided to do exactly what the youngest daughter requested and called their older daughter in great haste. The parents also recalled their encounter with a priest at the local temple a while back. Although the priest never met the Wu family before, he seemed to understand their family situation quite well and commented that they have something unclean in their home. Immediately the couple invited the priest to their home to perform a cleansing ritual to expel any bad energy. They also follow the priest's recommendation to move the Santi Z altar to a different position in the home. Connecting these experiences, the Wu parents thought that their daughter is seeing the deity has to be the result of them repositioning its altar earlier. The family also thought that the appearance of Santa C must be ominous, and they should move the altar back to its original place. They also prayed to the deity to avoid any calamity that may come upon the family. Soon after, they also started calling the other children to return to their Kaohsiung family home. Immediately, Mrs. Wu even took the train to Taipei with the intention to get the eldest daughter to return home. Immediately, Mrs. Wu explained to the eldest daughter what happened to her sister, and the deity commands that she must retrieve her home, otherwise grave danger would descend upon the family. With her mom appearing so suddenly and hearing all of this from her in person, the eldest daughter was shocked and obeyed their request to return home. The family was temporarily relieved that they managed to gather as 6 and obeyed the deity's request. Seemingly the dark clouds above them has passed. However, the tranquility only lasted briefly. On the day of returning to the family home, the eldest daughter had a horrific nightmare where she was being sexually assaulted and then murdered by a strange man. She woke up from the nightmare drenched in fear, screaming, "I feel strongly that Sanitize's prophecy is still in play and that their family has not yet overcome the great peril as foretold to the youngest daughter by the deity." The scream woke up the Wu family, and the parents stayed up the whole night to help their daughter feel better. Mrs. Wu and her daughter even prayed on both knees in front of their ancestral and deity altar for solace and peace. Unfortunately, the prayers were not heard. The eldest daughter continued to have the same nightmare, waking her up every night. She was even afraid of sleeping in the evening just to not have the same nightmare again. Due to the lack of sleep and being in chronic fear, the elder daughter's mental state deteriorated dramatically. Not only is she easily startled by loud noise and chatter, she even started hurting herself by slapping her own thighs violently. Worried about their daughter's well-being and wanting to understand why the deity is appearing before them, the parents decided to take their eldest daughter to the same temple in Nancy district to get some answers and have the retrieval ritual done with the intention to calm her nerves and fear. After visiting the temple, the eldest daughter seems to be showing signs of recovery and was even thinking about returning to Tape City. However, the peace was only temporary, and only 3 days later another incident happened. 2nd of March, the eldest daughter received a mysterious phone call from an unknown caller. Soon after, she says she is possessed by the deity Guanyai. The East Asian representation of the Bodhisattva of Avalokitesvara. Her facial expressions became eccentric and eerie, bodily movement started to become exaggerated, and her whole body started acting as if she has no control over it. The eldest daughter started to violently strike herself repeatedly and also scratch herself with her sharp nails, and the self-harming continued as she started to throw herself on the walls and the corner of tables until her body is filled with purple bruises. Out of desperation, the Wu family members decided to tie her up with rope to stop her from inflicting further damage onto herself, and stayed up with her throughout the night. The whole family was terrified by her violent behavior and the sudden change in her mental state. They started to think that she is not possessed by the good deity but an evil spirit. The next morning, after witnessing such disturbing behavior, the Wu family decided to go to the temple for another attempt at the retrieval ritual, but just like before, it did not help. Their eldest daughter, unwilling to give up, the Wu parents decided to send their 3 daughters to a monastery located on the Five-Finger Mountain in the northern mountains of Taiwan. They hoped that through the power of guided meditation it would purge the bad spirits from the eldest daughter and give them strength. The whole meditative journey would last a month. While the daughters are staying in the mountains, the Wu parents immediately began seeking and hiring a very well-known Taoist priest to come to their home to perform a protective ceremony and exorcism. However, to the parents' surprise, the priest refused to enter their home upon arrival and commented that the home is haunted by many evil spirits, and staying in such an atmosphere too long will be detrimental to their physical and mental health. When the priest decided to leave and in front of a crowd of neighbors, the Wu parents begged the priest to stay and help as they had no other options left. In the end, the priest hesitantly agreed. He stated that the feng shui of the home is problematic, and because they moved the Santa Z Ultra before the protective deity had left the home, and thus providing demonic spirits the opportunity to enter and grow, the priest instructed the family to prepare gathering the artifacts and other materials for an exorcism ritual. They even spent a large sum of money on purchasing talisman papers from the priest. The ritual lasted multiple days as the priest had put on quite a performance that involves chanting and dancing during these rituals. Unclear if it was placebo effect, the Wu parents and their son felt an immediate relief after the ritual, as if a weight on the shoulder has been lifted. 1 month later, on the 3rd of April, the Wu daughters returned from their meditative retreat in a seemingly better mental state. The family finally started to feel normal again, but this tranquility was once again brief, and things began to spiral out of control. The next day, April 4th, the mental state of the 3 daughters started to deteriorate severely. They started to chant about the returning of the Taoist deities. Then all of a sudden, Mr. Wu started saying he is possessed by the deity Heavenly Father, and Mrs. Wu said she was possessed by the deity Queen Mother of the West. The possession did not stop with the parents. Suddenly all 4 children also started saying they are each possessed by different deities, while everyone acted out in strange tongues and odd body language. The collective possession continued into a violent brawl as the family members started hitting and throwing each other around. Moreover, the Wu parents started putting up talisman papers all over their living space, while the daughters started dressing in black to perform strange rituals. The son danced entranced to the burning incense in front of deity altars. All these strange behaviors caused the family relatives living below and even neighbors to move out from fear. No one called the police at this point, and the Wu family is said to be continuously possessed by different deities. Sometimes they take turns, and sometimes all together. They believe that the deities are trying to take over their bodies and battle the demonic spirits that lives in the house. Sometimes they think they can smell the scent of the evil spirit on their skin and started burning each other with incense. Rice and salt were also splattered everywhere to purge evil spirits. The situation took a worse turn as they continued to inflict harm on each other, and the beating was especially bad on the eldest daughter as they believed she was the first to be possessed. Moreover, the family started to refuse eating and would only drink water purified with talisman paper. By doing so, they believed that they can starve the evil spirit that is residing in their body, and to further force the evil spirits out of their bodies, they started to consume and cover each other in their own feces, believing that the foul smell would force the demonic spirit out. On April 9th, after 2 months of physical and mental torture, the eldest daughter passed away. Strangely enough, the family did not grieve but was relieved, thinking that the demonic spirit had finally left her body and she can finally have some rest. 2 days have passed. The possessions seem to have stopped. The family have regained some consciousness of the situation. Mr. Wu went to check up on the eldest daughter, but she was laying in bed completely still with no signs of life. Understanding the gravity of the situation, Mr. Wu hurried to the neighbors to ask for an ambulance, but it was all too late as the truth started to surface from the investigation. A psychological examination was in order for the 5 Wu family members. The results came back pointing to no mental abnormalities. Medical authorities in Taiwan had analyzed the tragedy from a psychological perspective and stated that the family had suffered from some sort of mass hysteria. Mass hysteria refers to an outbreak of unusual and uncharacteristic behaviors, thoughts, and feelings or health symptoms shared among a group of people. Affected by mass hysteria typically believe something specific has triggered their symptoms. This incident also sparked many discussions regarding whether the family was truly possessed or not and whether they are responsible for the death. However, at the time of arrest, the family was deemed to be mentally sound sound and was on trial for domestic abuse. They were eventually acquitted and released because upon further examination of the eldest daughter's body, the evidence have suggested that she did not die to external factors but from self-inflicted wounds that had resulted to organ failures. This tragic true story later inspired the creation of the movie Incantation. The movie is a Taiwanese found-footage supernatural folk horror film which was released on March 18, 2022. It became the highest-grossing Taiwanese horror film and received international distribution from Netflix on July 8, 2022. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe and turn notifications on for more enigmas, urban legends and myths. See you on the next one.